Can we start, Felipe?
Yes, I think so, Stefan. I think it's
okay, I will. So, boa tarde to Sao Paulo. This is Stefan speaking. I will present in English, and hopefully this is fine for you. So I will speak a bit about managing and mastering disruption. So this is more or less the topic that we would like to talk about. And here you can see a picture of mine. So of course we can share the presentation afterwards with you, and we can also record it if this is helpful for you. And if there are any questions, you can see my email address, and you can either contact Felipe or me if there's anything what we can do. So don't hesitate to contact us, so we can talk about all this stuff. This is what I would like to let you know firstly. And I'm talking about a new strategy approach. We call it open strategy. And for those who are interested in this stuff, there is a book behind this. It's a new book of the MIT in the American way. And so this is one of the best-selling management books of last year. So this is the book. You can see the cover there in the blue in the left-hand corner. And this is Gary Hamel. This is a colleague of mine who is talking about the book, and he at least thinks it's very important to have a look on this approach I would like to share with you now in the next couple of minutes. So these are some guys which are front runners of the open approach. These are all companies, some of them, you might know them, which have already done some open exercises, some experiences with open strategy. You can see this is a consumer goods company here in Europe. It's a German-based company. They produce the good chocolate. Yeah, you know the IBM. Maybe you know Enel. This is a big utility and energy company. They are also operating in Brazil as well. And this is Tarase. This is the CEO. He is also a big fan of this approach. So you can see what I'm talking about is not only a theoretical stuff. No, it's a practical stuff. It's a new strategy approach. And I would like to present now alongside of these 5 questions. I would like to let you know what it is all about. What do we mean by open strategy? This is the first question. The second one, maybe we can think about the forces behind. What are the drivers of this openness of strategy? Then the crucial question, what is in for you when you are applying open strategy? That's the third thing. Then, okay, if you would like to open up your strategy, where should you open up? And how should you open up the strategy? This is the fourth question. Then the last thing is, hey, are there some critical success factors? And of course, I will share the expertise we have had so far with the open approach with you. This might be the end of the presentation. Let me start with the definition of open strategy to give you a better understanding. What do we talk about? So please assume there is a manager. The manager was disappeared for about 4 decades, for about 40 years, and now he is coming back in business. He would be surprised about new technologies, about digitization, about 3D printing. These are all new stuff, and he would be very impressed. But when he's looking at our companies in Brazil, in Germany, in Switzerland, Austria, he would be very, very familiar with the way we manage innovation. He would be very familiar about the way we are formulating strategies, and he would be very familiar about how we are organizing our companies. So where we start with open strategy is what we call new management methods. We call it management innovation. So for us, there are 2 different things. We have the technology innovations and we have the management innovation. And open strategy, it's about a new way of doing strategic management. It's a new approach about doing innovation. This is what we can learn from Clayton Christensen. You can see this is the best-selling book ever about innovation. It's the Innovator's Dilemma. And the core thesis there is management innovation drives technology disruptions. Or to translate it, if you would like to master technology disruptions, you have to change the way you are doing strategy and you are doing this innovation. So the first takeaway is open strategy is about a new way of doing strategy and innovation. And now let's talk about the forces behind. There are 2 forces. The first one you can learn from this example. This is a professor, this is Martin Chelfie. It's a renowned professor of the Columbia University in the US. And he got some invitations from his colleagues, and then he was thinking about, should I attend another presentation of a colleague, even in the topic I'm not deep in and I'm not so interested in. So he asked himself, can I invest this time for something else? And he did. And you see, he was attending a presentation about a jellyfish, something he's really not interested in. But suddenly he saw some very interesting, some inspiring things. And then he got a completely new idea for his topic, and he succeeded. And this was the first step by winning the Nobel Prize. What can we learn from the example? This is the first pillar. This is what we called cross-fertilization. This is very important for today for strategy, that you get some impulses not only from the strategy department, but also from other departments, maybe from other companies in your industry, but maybe also from guys outside your industries. This is the first big pillar open strategy is based on. We call it cross-fertilization. And the second thing you can learn from this example, this is about a mining company in Canada. They are suffering a lot because they do not detect enough gold, and then they decide to share all their knowledge with the internet, and they got lots of ideas from different angles. Yeah, so they got ideas from students, they got ideas from engineers, so from all over the globe. And the guy who brought in the most important aspect for the strategy, it was Archibald. And you can see Archibald, he's coming from a total different industry. He's coming from 3D computer simulation. This is what we call wisdom of the crowd and also cross-fertilization. This is the message here. The open approach, open strategy is based on two things. One of the things is cross-fertilization, learning from others, learning from guys outside of the industry, and wisdom of the crowd. This means including a huge heterogeneous team by doing your new strategy. This is more or less the drivers and the pillars behind the open strategy. And so you can see the definition. On the left-hand side, the very traditional approach. Strategy is more or less restricted to the CEO and to a very small team of guys, the strategy department, and they are thinking about, yes, their industry and how they can, yes, get some competitive advantages. And on the right-hand side, our new approach. Yeah? Rather than limiting this exercise, you open up the exercise, you invite a heterogeneous group of internals and even externals, and then you explore and exploit some really surprising solutions. This is what we mean by open approach or by open strategy. Opening up the total cycle of the strategy by analyzing, by finding some new directions, by evaluating strategy, and even by detailing and implementing strategy. This is more or less the definition of open strategy. And there are some messages behind. Yeah? The first message is, if you are acting in a very dynamic environment, the traditional approach will not be sufficient for strategy. You have, and this is at least what we have learned during the last 5-6 years, you have to open up the strategic process by inviting these guys. Otherwise, this is the example here, you will be misleading if you are trying to solve the challenges of the future by applying the traditional approach. The second thing is, a very important statement here from Karam Lakhani, also a colleague of us from the Harvard Business School. He told us, the further the problem solver is away from the technical problem, the more probable is that he will find a breakthrough solution. This is very counterintuitive, yeah, because normally we expect the solutions by the guys who is working on a strategy for lots of years. And this is based on a strong empirical basis, quite the opposite. So Karim can show you that it makes absolutely sense involving guys into strategic directions which have not been familiar with this topic previously. That's the second message. And this is a very important message for the open strategy. And now, the most important question, why should you go alongside this road? What is in for you by applying open strategy? The first thing is direction. You can learn here from Gerd Manz, who has been the Chief Innovation Officer of Adidas for a decade, yeah, and you can see the most important statement here with the yellow color marked by the yellow color. So by applying this open approach, by opening up the strategy process, we have seen a completely new opportunities for our companies. So you can see new risks, but you can also see new opportunities. This is what we do mean by direction. So the open approach will support you by opening up your horizon, by recognizing, by identifying completely new strategic options for your company. This is the first thing. So open strategy will help you with a higher quality of the strategy content, and the breakthrough innovation will be more probable. This is the first win for you. The second win you can learn from this example. This is the solar roof tile. This is something new technology in Germany, and we are working with a company which has really been deep into this business model, and they are competing and gone against Elon Musk here in Europe. But the company was convinced of four things here. We have to cover the last mile. Yes, there is sufficient pull in the market. They will only win by single source solutions, yeah, and the domestic market, yeah, will be the most crucial thing. But this was not right. They do not succeed. And then the second thing was opening up the strategy by a new format. We call it Kill the Concept. We invited a heterogeneous group of relevant players, so solateurs, so the brick manufacturers, some of the energy utility companies, then the roofers. So we all include them by rethinking the strategy. And this is the second thing. Within 2 months, we totally reshaped, we totally redefined the business model of this company from a losing one in a winning one. And this is the second thing, yeah, direction, quality of the decision. The second thing is speed. You will speed up the strategy process by opening up this stuff. And the third big advantage is what we call mobilization. You can see here a statement of Dr. Peter Nagler. He is working in Singapore. He is the Chief Innovation Officer of Assista. This is a very famous system in Singapore with about 7,000 scientists. And he let us know, by applying this open strategy, it was very, very crucial, yeah, that all the guys, not only the top management, was involved and was energized by strategy and was totally open to really help to build a new strategy. We call this mobilization. You can see here a mobilized team after open strategy project. And so these are the three, I call it, yes, winning points of open strategy. Higher quality in strategy content, more speed in the process, and more commitment through a participation of a huge team, yeah, which lower the implementation barriers of the strategy. This is more or less the reason why we are arguing towards opening up your strategy. There's lots of benefit in for you. Now, next question, where should you open the strategy process? This is a very important question, and look what we have to share with you at this point. You can see here a traditional strategy project in a very normal way. So you have to understand the environment firstly, then you have to reflect the competencies, yeah, maybe the core competencies of the company, yeah. You have then to explore some of the search fields, what are strategic options, you have to elevate the options, you have to take the strategy decision, should we go it or should we don't go there, then you have to detail the business model, we call it the business logic, and then you have to implement the strategy. And when you put this alongside the process, you can see the different phases, and we have compared project in the year 2010, and we have compared this with project 10 years after this, so 1 decade later. You can see indicated by the black shadowed parts of the circle. You can see where companies here in Europe open up their strategy. You can see that the companies are really now prepared and really interested in open up the different parts of the strategy process. We have a very open mindset now at the front end by understanding the environment and also by reflecting the own core competencies, but you have also a strong energy now by detailing the business logic. It depends a bit if you open up to the outside. So opening up at the outside is more or less on the front end of the process, and you have the internally included of guys more or less at the detailing and implementation of strategy. But overall, you can state this is something which is now getting ground, and they are all interested in really open up their strategy. This is what we have learned during the last year and decade, and we can show you a couple of companies here which are succeeding by applying this open strategy approach. Now we have to discuss about the critical success factors. What makes success happen? The most important thing is the spirit at the top. So if the CEO or the senior guys in the senior board are not willing to open up the strategy process, you will fail with this exercise. So please remember the example of Goldcorp. Please remember Rob McEwan, who has been that time the CEO of the company. And this was for me a very convincing example how an open mindset at the very top of the company will help you to really open up this process. But this is not enough. The spirit of the top is one of the success factors. The second one is the willingness of the whole team to open up. This is what we have learned from the not invented here syndrome. We need the opposite. You should be prepared and you should be willing to share content with other guys and not restricting strategy only to a small team. The third thing is there are lots of different open tools. We call it open formats. And it's very important to understand which of the tools is the suitable one for the different stages of the process. So we have here a kind of tableau that you can see there are different new approaches in strategy, even for understanding the strategic challenges, by coping with the future, by then taking the strategy decision, then by doing the new business logic, and then by implementing the business logic. This is very important that you are very familiar with the different tools and you can decide which is the right and which is the appropriate tool by opening up the strategy process at the different stages of the overall process. The most important thing, and this is my last message to you, to give you some food of thought here, this is access. Access to external wisdom, access to external experts, access to different guys who could be involved in your strategy process. And this is where we jump normally in. We have a broad, a huge global network. It's about 1,700 guys globally, and we handpick then the experts what we are involving in the process. So we have different experts clusters. We have the lateral thinkers. These are CTOs, which are very good in transforming a solution which has been very successfully in one industry to another. These are the lateral thinkers. We have the technology experts. They are very deep in one technology, 3D printing or a big data or something like this. Then we have the cluster of the market experts. They know everything about the markets you would like to jump in. Then we have the huge cluster of entrepreneurs and startups, and we use them because we need some agility in the process. This is why we are involved in these guys. Then we have the digital disruptors. These guys would like to digitize everything what you can see. And then you have the handpick value-adding partners. These are some guys around you in the value chain, and we try to also include them into the strategy process. And here can you see how our open strategy process is working. You can see the core team here. It's a bigger one. And then you can see the guys with the red circle. These are some guys of our team because they are very familiar with the process. They are very familiar with the tools. And then you can see the other guys. These are the handpicked experts with different backgrounds. And this is what we call a very smart setup to really do this open approach. Now, and this is my final statement for today, how you can kick off this process. We have selected a format which is, from my point of view, a very interesting one. We call it the Nightmare Competitor, and the exercise is the Nightmare Competitor Challenge. So when people ask us, how can we start into an open exercise, this could be a good starting point. So the Nightmare Competitor is a competitor which is not still existing. But this is a competitor, if it would be there, it would take your company into serious problems. So this is more or less anticipating the future by inventing or by shaping a completely new competitor. So we call this exercise disrupt yourself before others. So we are building a competitor which then might be very helpful for you to take some strategic decisions. You can see how the process is working here in this example. So Sivantos has been formerly a part of the Siemens company. This is more or less the business about the hearing aid. And you can see here, we did the exercise in March 2018. This was the exercise, the Nightmare Competitor Challenge. We took 25 guys of the company and we took also 25 external experts, and we gave them the assignment, think about the competitor which is not there, but if the competitor is there, this might be a problem for this company. And they end up with the idea of the org.com, and you can see approximately 2 years later, this Nightmare Competitor really rings the door and was under portas. And this is a very good exercise. Maybe you can also apply this exercise to your company, because you have then 3 ways to act. You can protect yourself from the disruptor. This is fighting the disruptor. You can become your own disruptor if you do understand how the dynamics will be happen. And even you can overtake the disruptor by a completely new strategy. And this is what we propose to you, that we say, hey, maybe out from this short impulse I have shared with you today, maybe you can think about in the next couple of hours or maybe next couple of days about a nightmare competitor to your company, maybe how it looks like the nightmare competitor for SAP, or we did the exercise with Faber-Castell and with Adidas, and maybe you can do this exercise as the first open step in an open strategy with your own company, thinking together with others, thinking about a competitor which is not there, but if the competitor is there, you might be under pressure. This is more or less a very short, cut of the open strategy. I will recap. Open strategy is a management innovation, and this management innovation will help you, will help your company, to really master disruption. We pull the strategy out of the CEO suite. We open up this process. We invite internal and external guys to come into the exercise, to bring in their thoughts, to bring in their expertise, and also to help to detail the strategy. And so we get a better content. We are much faster in the process, and the mobilization and implementation will be a total different level than in the traditional approach previously. This is all what I have to share. It was a shortcut of the exercise, but hopefully it will help you a bit, thinking out of the box, because this was my assignment, to give you a short impulse. And maybe you are interested, then have a look in the book. It's in English, but it will be there also in other different languages within the next couple of months. We are also planning an edition in Portuguese language, but currently we have only the Italian book and we have the book in the English language, but maybe you can jump in. So this is all I would like to share. If there are any questions, feel free to ask. Otherwise, if you will write a mail, I'm happy to answer all the questions which are there.
We don't have questions. Thank you so much for sharing your knowledge.
Thank you. So, see you soon. Bye-bye. Ciao. Buona.